Lord Norman Lamont is a former Conservative Finance Minister and a Brexiteer. Good to see you, Lord Norman. Let's start with answering Bianca's question. What is your alternative solution? If Chequers isn't a good solution for Northern Ireland, what's your preference?
Well, I think it's right to say that the Irish border is the key question. Actually, I think it's a bit of a non-problem. They've made it into a problem tactically because the way in which they framed it would make it insoluble. But if they mean what they say, it would be, I think, comparatively easy to have a decentralized regime of inspections, of alignment, away from the border. Barnier himself has said that he wants the border to be in the North Sea as a part of the backstop, but they would be very light. But if it can be very light in the middle of the North Sea, why can't it be very light on the Irish border? I think one has to distinguish between a hard border and no border at all.
The Prime Minister doesn't agree with you on that. She points out it doesn't matter whether the border is in the heart of Northern Ireland or it's on the border itself. Any form of checks would be, by definition, creation of a hard border with a light touch.
Well, we already have, as you know, checks on the Irish border. There are checks on VAT, checks on excise duty. We have different currencies. They're not literally carried out on the border, although you can see cars stopped. You can watch them on Facebook, cars being stopped on the border and inland. No, the point is that an awful lot of customs inspections take place at the point of departure, in the warehouse. They don't take place at the border. So I do think that we have to concede there would be some checks, just as there are now.
How far are the hard Brexiteers prepared to push this? If Chequers or some version thereof comes out of the next month's summit meeting, will they vote it down in Parliament? Because that's really where it all happens now.
Well, I think if they were going to vote it all down, and I'm a pretty hardline Brexiteer, you have to ask what happens next. And I'm not sure that it's as simple as saying we're out and there's no agreement and we're on WTO terms. I think there would be a lot of manoeuvring and you wouldn't get there in one go.
No, but Emmanuel Macron today, and I say this with due respect since I'm saying it to your face, called hardline Brexiteers liars, in that you had implied and given the impression that it was going to be easier than it has been to get a settlement, get an agreement and to leave the EU.
Well, I think the word liar is completely inappropriate. You can criticise some things that were said on both sides. The issue of it's difficult versus it's easy was not really an issue in the referendum campaign. The issues were about what would the budget contribution be, what would we gain from it. Those were the arguments. And Macron is talking nonsense.
Coming back to this idea of voting down the bill, obviously, it depends what it looks like, and if it is. But if it is a version of Chequers, which does have some form of alignment for the north to the south, will follow a common rule book. Can you live with that?
Well, I think the thing that is difficult is the customs arrangements. That I don't think is easy to accept. And I don't think it's very easy for the EU to accept that you would have British officials raising taxes for the EU.
Right, but I'm not. But we'll let them.
No, but that's part of it.
Right, but I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, this thing lives or dies by how the people vote behind me in Parliament.
But I'm saying I don't think they would easily accept that, and I don't think so I think Chequers will have to be significantly altered one way or the other. I think you will have, there are all sorts of hybrid versions, but I think they'll have to move a bit more towards Canada plus. But can I just say this? I don't think this is the end of the road. Honestly, I wasn't surprised at all. I always said from the beginning, there'll be a walkout. It'll break down. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't break down again in October, and then we go right to November, and maybe beyond November. This was always going to happen. But, the idea that this is going to be immensely damaging to us and not hurt them if there is no deal. First of all, I think that's nonsense, medium term. But the economies that would really suffer would be Holland, Ireland, Denmark, Germany. They would be really badly affected, and they don't want that.
So on this point of how the negotiations would go, you sat through more EU meetings than I suspect you ever wish you'd had to.
Absolutely.
In your days. And negotiations during those heady days around Black Monday and around there. What does happen right at the end?
Well, I think Europeans tend to maintain a very united front, and then actually the real negotiation begins at the very end. Don't forget this. There's one crucial thing. The agreement is going to be two bits, a significant withdrawal agreement and probably a rather vague trade agreement.
Can you live with that?
Yeah. But the point is, they won't get any money if there's no agreement, and they are desperate for the money.
Thank you for coming out this evening.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Lord Norman.